With Halloween fast approaching, what better time to discuss horror? Join me here at Bannick13 on my channel for 30 days of pure horror and creepiness. American Horror Story 1984 is out. Camp Redwood is the first episode, and I do want to discuss every episode as it comes out each week, and boy, this did not disappoint. A lot of you will know that I'm really into my nostalgia and my 1980s neon type themes, and wow, this from start to finish absolutely blew me away. Camp Redwood has now reopened in 1984 after a very, very violent massacre in 1970. The lady that's actually reopened the camp is the only survivor from that massacre, where Mr. Jingles, who was actually an old Vietnam War veteran that was working as a janitor at the camp in 1970, suddenly snapped and went on an absolute violent murdering massacre and slaughtered an entire cabin. I think it was like 12 or 13 deaths, and then the actual new owner of the camp revealed that she ended up surviving. So it ends up being one death less than what was presumed. Because there was a survivor, Mr. Jingles was subsequently caught and, of course, locked up in a mental asylum, which he ends up escaping in 1984, just as the camp has reopened with fresh teenage counselors. If you're into cheesy 80s stuff, you're going to absolutely adore this, especially if you appreciate the 80s horror, the horror that most of us or a lot of us grew up with. This is Friday the 13th meets Halloween meets Staying Alive with John Travolta. And for someone like me that's obsessed with the 1980s and that type of nostalgic feeling, this was definitely a big, huge winner for me, and maybe my opinion is a bit biased, but it's just my personal opinion on the show. It looks amazing. It definitely feels like the 80s, the cheesiness you could cut with a knife, a cheese knife. The only negative I have is the massacre killer, the serial killer, whatever you want to call him, the psychopath that ends up escaping the mental asylum, Mr. Jingles. He's kind of a bit boring to me and doesn't really fit the profile of what I imagined the main killer would look like. That's the only negative that I really have to mention about this episode so far for this brand new season of American Horror Story. This is American Horror Story 1984, and it gets a very well-deserved 12 out of 13. My nostalgia levels were through the roof. I was just sitting there grinning, laughing like an idiot, and it's not often a show makes me feel that way. Not since I watched the Black Mirror episode called San Junipero did I feel those types of nostalgic feel-good feelings, and I love it and I want more. Also, big special guest appearance by the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, which I thought was amazing, as well as someone that reads a lot about serial killers. This just really topped it off for me, and it does happen quite early on in the episode. So a lot of you that are into the same sort of things as I am with horror, serial killers, 80s, nostalgia, and just creepy shit in general, then you'll know exactly where I'm coming from. If you want to see more American Horror Story reviews, please, please, please give me a thumbs up and a comment down below and just tell me that you want to see more. Like I mentioned, a lot of horror focus for the next 30 days. It's 30 days of creepiness with yours truly, Bannick13, your creepy uncle.